Lesson 4.2 will be percents and decimals. So when we're working with percentages, we can easily jump back and forth between a percentage and a fraction and a decimal. And it's all interchangeable. And one of the most important numbers in doing this is going to be 100. Okay, so we learned previously that whenever we see a percentage, that just means that number is out of 100. Okay, and so 28 over 100 is the same thing as dividing 28 by 100. So when we do that, the number 28 has this invisible decimal place that we don't usually write, right? This 28.0, we don't usually write that because we just assume that 28 means the same thing. So why write all that extra information? But it's important to know that a decimal in a whole number is actually located right there. And so when we talk about dividing by 100, we're taking this decimal point and we're shifting it 2 spaces to the left. So anytime there's a 0 when we're multiplying or dividing, the decimal point's going to move 1 location. And so that's why the answer is 0.28. And so if we have this decimal and we want to go back to a percentage, it's essentially doing the opposite. It's multiplying by 100. And when we multiply, we're going to shift to the right when we are playing with a decimal point. And so that's really important. No matter what the number is, when we multiply, we're moving the decimal point to the right of wherever it was located. So let's say we have the number 2.7 or 2.63 here. If I'm multiplying, I know I'm going to shift it this way a certain number of times by, whatever the 0 is or how many zeros there are. So let's say I'm multiplying by 1,000 and my decimal point is right there, 2.63. Because there are 3 zeros, that tells me I'm going to shift my decimal point to the right 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. And then any place where there's like an empty space, I'm going to have to add a 0 there. And so that becomes 2,630 when I multiplied by 1,000. And so it's the exact opposite with division. Let me grab this. Let's see. Ungroup. I'll grab this little dot again. It's not letting me grab it. Okay, there we go. So it's the same thing with division, but we're going to move to the left. So if we're dividing by, let's say the decimal point is right here. If we divide by 1,000, we're going to go to the left. And because 1,000 has 3 zeros there, I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3 points to the left, or 3 place values to the left. And so when we talk about percentages, and when we're converting to decimals, let's say we have 2.6%, and we want to convert that to a decimal. Since 2.6% is the same as 2.6 over 100, that means that I'm dividing 2.6 by 100. So 2.6, if I'm dividing, that means my decimal point's going to go to the left twice because there are 2 zeros. 1, 2. My decimal point now moves there, and I put a 0 where there's an empty space, so my final answer is 0.026 for 2.6% into a decimal. And so the opposite is true. So if I'm going from a decimal to a percentage, instead of dividing by 100, I'm going to multiply by 100. So I'm going to multiply by 100, which means shifting the decimal point to the right twice since there are 2 zeros. And so that's why I get my 2.6% from decimal to percent. And then the opposite with percent to decimal. So multiplying here and then dividing when I'm going from a percentage to a decimal point. So let's write all that out just to be clear. So percent to decimal, I will divide by 100, and from decimal to percent, I'm going to multiply by 100. So 100 is key there because in percentages we're working with the number 100. So we're always going to be going back and forth between dividing and multiplying the number 100. And that's basically 4.2% in decimals. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions.